Hello, everyone. Once again, thank you for having me. Today, we'll be discussing about human annotator to ChatGPT. And this is going to be more about exploring the transition we see in data labeling. So we'll get started. So the first thing we want to know is what is data annotation itself? So give me 1 minute. Okay. Okay. So data annotation is the process of you reviewing a particular document. It could be a document, it could be an image, it could be videos, right? And you try to label it, you try to categorize it. So that's the act itself. And we use this in ML and AI and even data science field as well. So what does it entail? It entails classification. We have others like localization, segmentation. So segmentation is mostly kind of used when you have images and you're trying to pull the puzzle together and actually tagging or labeling those pieces of image. And then you can also see this in transcription. Transcription is more applied to like videos and all that. And then entity tagging, which is one of the most common one, and classification is used for documentation. So these are the different ways that we've seen data annotation being used. And then we have the humans. Over the years, we've had human annotators that apply this on behalf of, let's say we want a data set and I'm looking for how I can actually get some labels on it. And then we get to use humans. But now we are saying that, can we actually transition from humans to using ChatGPT or GPT-4? Yes, we've had other things we've used over time, and you will see that on the slides as well. So now we want to see what the status quo looks like right now. First, we get this unlabeled data, and we give it to human data labeling company. In US, we have like Amazon MTurk. I think they do it like MTurkers are around the world. They get to do this labeling for you, the initial one. And right after that, it goes to experts. So whatever we get from human, we then give it to the experts. This expert will come back and say, oh, you have to change the way you've done the label. They give a feedback, it goes back and forth. So it's not just once, it's not twice. It takes a whole lot of iterations to get humans to actually give us a good label that we then make it a labeled data that we now tag as labeled data. Also, we've also had the use of what is called the auto label AI. These auto label AI are mostly the other NLP methods that we've used over time to actually get like entity tagging and all that. But this is not with the use of generative pre-trained models like GPT. This is just using other NLP applications to label data for us. And this also goes human directs it back again to the auto label process. And then it goes through different iterations as well. Some of the ways we've seen this auto label AI actually learn is through active learning. That means it's learning from whatever the human is giving as feedback and adjusting the labeling process. It could also be through weak supervision. Weak supervision is more like it's kind of learning loosely from the annotated data to improve like the labeling accuracy for what it's working on, or for the task that has been given to the auto label AI. We also have the semi-supervised learning, and this is where you take a label, like a small amount of data, and you feed this into the process itself of auto label, and then it gets to start mimicking or start making it look more like what the unlabeled data is trying to get to. So you use a small label data and you apply whatever you're seeing, the patterns you're seeing, into the unlabeled one to get a full labeled data on the larger data sets. So with this happened over and over again to get what is called labeled data. And then we also see a mix of both, like have humans and auto label like kind of augment for each other. And we've seen this over time as well. So let's go into how large language models have emerged over the years. In 2013, we can see we had more of word-to-vec, word embeddings. And then in 2018, we had the game changer, Transformer, right? So with Transformer, we started having the generative pre-trained models. And then we go all the way, we had GPT-2, GPT-3, Instruct GPT, GPT 3.5, and all that. And in 2022, and I must say, maybe not so much thanks to COVID, I feel like during COVID, when COVID started, a lot of people wanted to change the dynamics of how they do things. And when OpenAI actually launched the ChatGPT, everyone kind of jumped on it that this is it. This is the game changer we've been looking for, and it has been fascinating to see ways that they have used it over time. Looking at ChatGPT, you could use it for different things, but today we'll be focusing on data labeling. And you can see at 2023, it emerged with their own holy grail, the GPT-4, and that's kind of the example we'll use today. So now we are seeing what the status quo looks like and what the transition would look like using the large language model, ChatGPT or GPT-4. So now from large language model, ChatGPT, you can actually also annotate your unlabeled data and have human experts in loop. So when would you need human expert? It would be probably when it's a domain specific one. So if you have something for just a general knowledge, it can go from from ChatGPT straight to label data. You don't need any expert nuances in any, like for anything. It could just go straight from GPT-4 or ChatGPT into label data. But when you need human in loop is when you're using GPT-4 is when you need experts input in it. So let's say for finance domain, there's some of the idiosyncrasies or like specific knowledge to those that actually have a finance-based one, or let's say in agriculture, it also has different meanings that you can apply to. In medicine, you could see like a particular range and you don't know what it means. So with that, even if GPT labels the data for you, it would be good to have experts in loop to be able to take care of anywhere the GPT or the LLMs are gabbling. So before you then get your labeled data. So now we want to explain why do we need this transition? What's the essence of the whole transition itself? The first thing we're seeing is the scalability. When you use humans to annotate, I would say you have to go through the rigmarole of going back and forth. So look at Nigeria. For example, we have the north, the south, the west, and the eastern part of Nigeria. And you are trying to really annotate this English-based document, and you are looking for human annotators to use. First, you will have to get quotes from different industries. And then when you get the quotes, even the one you would use, you could probably say, okay, when you get the feedback and the experts are looking at it and say, oh, we should have, they didn't get it right. Let's make the instruction more clearer. Let's give different examples. Let's throw in a lot of examples into it so that they would know how to deal with this annotation. So with this type of process, it's very hard for you to scale it up. Like if you now have a very big data, which is now like the talk of the time, we have large data, big data, and all that. Now, how do you want to apply this? Will you keep employing more humans? I feel like humans can be used in a better way than just going through this kind of hard labor. So with GPT-4 or ChatGPT, you can actually get this and scale up using a LLM and have humans to be experts in those fields to help you fact check some of the things coming out of the LLM. Now, in terms of consistency as well, there will be different bias because the way someone would interpret a question or a task of labeling will be different from the way that another person would describe it. I could write a sentence and say, what is the role of Mr. Igwe in this text? And then one would tell me he formed the industry. And another one would tell me that he's an employee. So yes, the task seems to, like, even the result itself seems to be very similar in terms of the output from these different human. But what about if what I was looking for was just that I want them to have said that he's the CEO of the organization. So with LLMs like GPT-4, it would probably give you a more consistent result and with less bias in it. Although it's not like it will remove the bias, but the bias will be uniform and you have to account for that as well. So next we talk about the flexibility that comes into play as well. This is going to, like, the flexibility comes into play by you writing your configurations, putting your codes together. And when you look at the answer that is generated, the output generated from GPT-4, and you are not pleased with it, you can tweak your parameters, you can fine tune them, you can do all those type of things, put some temperature, put a lower temperature to make it more deterministic, or say you want to see how it's going to display its randomness and push it all the way to 1, which is the parameters that you have to play with in GPT-4. So all this, you can't really do that with humans. And with that, I would say humans are better as experts rather than having them to do the hard work for us. Then in terms of speed, you control the speed of what you want to see. It might take you a few hours or few minutes to run your whole code to generate the output you have, but you can actually control it because you can also spread it over GPUs, excuse me, and all. But with humans, you have to keep going back and forth and explaining it. So this is the essence, this is the need for transition. And the other major factor is time. Time itself is sometimes very, very expensive. When you need the output on time, you want to get the result of your labeled data so that you can start working on this project, your AI project or your machine learning project. So for something that is time efficient, I think even the cost might be higher in the beginning when you are starting with the use of LLMs like GPT-4 or 3.5 might be cheaper. But at the long run, you will see that the benefits from the cost and the time it's saving you outweighs the cost of what you would have spent. Because over time, the cost you've spent on maybe initializing, getting an API, running the API might later be less than what you would have expended on trying to go back to the annotators. Or let's say you don't prefer the annotators from company A, and you have to give the data again to another company called company B. And with that, you're wondering, do I want to have this spread or not? Oh, sorry, I didn't start my video. Okay. Go back. So these are some companies, or these are some aspects of the economy you can apply this to in finance, in healthcare, in economy, in agriculture. A lot of us have data that we're trying to actually label to be able to use this as input into model building and all that. GPT-4 will be one good one that you can actually explore. So next, we go to some plausible drawbacks. So anything that have an advantage, there's also a downside to it, but it depends on how it's been seen. The first one will be the initial setup and training requirement. So the initial setup itself, you have to understand how would ChatGPT take the prompts. Like, does it take the prompts by giving instruction first, or instructions have to come last? How do I get access to API? When I get my API key, how do I embed it into my code? How do I set up the code? How do I look for what to do and what not to do? So the initial setup is very, very tasking. But once you get the setup, it makes it way easier for you to run and things get better. But it's actually a drawback because it takes a whole lot of time. And also training people to understand what the requirement is for GPT-4 as well could also be time consuming. The next one is the hallucinations. Hallucinations is what we've seen a lot. A lot of people have talked about. I remembered when ChatGPT started in 2022, a lot of people just, they took the information coming out of it, hook, line, and sinker, and they started applying it to everything. And because a lot of people were not aware that it could hallucinate, and they were getting false information. So rather than ChatGPT giving us then that, I think it was 3.5. It was, instead of it saying, I don't have an idea, it would give you something else. And when you try to fact check that, it's actually incorrect. So a lot of times you need to still check the outputs coming from this. But if it is for data labeling, you already gave the data you're already feeding in the data into the application, into the tool itself that you've generated. And so you should be able to get human experts, which we call human in loop, to be able to help you to check, this information correct? Is what is being extracted correct? So you still need humans. We can't do without humans or experts, but we can actually get them to do the main job than doing the very hard one. So, but what's the other usefulness of hallucination? As bad as hallucination is, we've also seen that hallucination can also give you some labeling or some classification that human has not really come up with. So let's say we have a particular classification and they're saying that, oh, we want you to be able to do this, do this, do this. And you realize that of the options you gave it, you have a bucket of orders, right? So you say A is apple, B is a baby, and then C is others. And instead of it selecting, so you will say it's not baby, it's not apple, but it's others. But instead of GPT-4 giving you answer as orders, it could give you an answer that perfectly fit the task. So now it has suggested a new classification type for you that you can now use to improve whatever you're working on, whatever task you're trying to label and all others. So that's a way to use hallucination instead of just thinking it's all the way bad. And then we have systematic error that you need to cater for. It's always happened that apart from the systematic errors, like these are the type of bias I was talking about that don't think it doesn't come with its own bias. You have to be able to cater for it, be able to also track it as well. And then we have privacy. A lot of companies or a lot of people feel like, oh, if I push my data into ChatGPT or GPT-4, it's like, oh, it's going to breach privacy and all that. And so this is one major drawback. But if you give it to human annotators too, they will also probably just sign something that they won't release your data. So you can control that. But I've not really read so much about what it has to do with privacy and OpenAI. I just know they don't release your data out there just yet, but this is one of the drawbacks that people have not really been able to apply ChatGPT or GPT-4 to their kind of documentation or videos documentation, videos, images, and all that. So let's go into how to set up a ChatGPT. And after this, I'll probably go to a live display. So we have this setup. This is the way you go to ChatGPT, open the website itself, set it up, verify your account, get an API. Why do you need an API? If you are going to run a lot of data, using the dashboard or using the interface from ChatGPT would actually probably limit what you can do. But when you actually apply this to the API, like when you get an API, you can use your Python, you can write Python, you can use Colab, you can use your desktop Python or your laptop Python to actually run the code yourself and be more efficient. So I would say get an API key if you're trying to have a setup. So now we'll look at an example. I'm coming up to time. So we'll look at an example. And give me a minute. So I will switch the screen, but I want to show you the example we want to look at. So I copied this particular text, my bad. I copied this text from the appropriation bill that I found, and let me show you, let me share a different screen so that you can see that one. Share my phone screen. This one. Okay. So I found this this budget of Office of the Federation. I found this and I opened the documents there and I saw what is being written. Since it's a public document, I decided to say, you know what, let me try to label this data, right? And then I want to open ChatGPT. And this is the interface. So I've signed in, I have access to GPT-4 and also to GPT 3.5. 3.5 is very fast, but GPT-4 is like the holy grail. It's more accurate, they say, and it's more efficient than the other ones. So let's copy this text here in one of the documents and see if we can label it. So what we are seeing is we're seeing different numbers, right? We are seeing the total sum of the federation, and then we are seeing this, we are seeing different funding, and then we can see dates as well. This is the 31st day of December 2023 and all that. So I'm trying to label this data set. So let's copy this, push it in here. So the first thing you have to come up with is come up with an instruction. Like, what do I feed into this place? What is the prompt I give it? So I just want to confirm, can you see my ChatGPT interface? I'll assume yes. So now we want to push in the instruction, and let's write what the instruction should be. So now I'm typing that from the text, because I'm about to put a paragraph into it. From the text below, label the fonts and year in it. So that's the instruction I want to give this ChatGPT. So I enter and I copy the text I just got from this appropriation bill, and then I enter. And we'll be able to see what you would have given human, instead of using human as expert, to be able to check if this is correct or not, and use LLMs to be the first to initiate the data labeling. And now you can see it is giving us the sum of 21 billion or so, and we can see how it is. It's writing it out and giving us the whatever and telling us what it is. So this is what I'm trying to say, that with this, you can use it to tag or label what the information you have in your paragraph, in your document would be. And one of the things you can see now is it says the year is not provided. So, but we can see that we had something like, okay, I probably did not copy all the text. So with this one, I didn't copy all the text. So it's saying that the year is not provided for it. And this also gives the opportunity to be able to go into this place, change whatever information you put in here, maybe copy the full thing now, and let it provide you the information you need. So this is one way you can use it. This is the interface itself, but with the API, it makes it much easier for you to be able to apply this to other fields in an easy way and in a more concise way. So let me go back to my slide. Okay. So now the future of data labeling or human annotation, this transition we are trying to see. Now we are trying to really integrate LLMs into domain-specific ones, like I talked about before: finance, medicine, politics, and more. And we are still seeing a bit of disconnect because people are very conscious about their privacy or this hallucination issue. But that is why we cannot do without, to get your label data, we cannot do without human in loop. You need the feedback of experts to be able to use GPT-4 or whichever one you want to use, Bird, Palm, MPT Instruct, or different LLMs that are out there. So just because we want to transition data labeling more into using LLMs like GPT-4, we cannot do without. For now, it cannot replace human experts. So human expert is still of essence, and because we need their feedback to actually fine-tune the results we are seeing. And that's all I have for now. If anybody have a question for me, I can take it. Any question? Okay, I see a question on how do you fact check. Let me just scroll down. Sorry, I wasn't. How do you fact check a large data without having to rework? So I would say you probably need to get a sample out of it. You probably need to get a subsample and get some experts, or if it's not a domain specific one, you have to get somebody that gives you the other label, and then you can check that with what you got from GPT-4. sometimes you will see that the one GPT-4 is giving you is actually better. So that's why I would say, even if you are fact checking, in as much as it's not strictly from expert, you should be able to take some suggestions from GPT to actually augment the classification you are doing or the labeling you are doing. So probably that's how I would do it, to kind of fact check. And you that you are giving the information to ChatGPT, you must have your documents. You must have the unlabeled data. So this is how I would use this. Let me see, what is annotation? So I described this earlier. Let me.
Hi, Toyin.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, so I just want to quickly help you pick the questions so it's
Thank you.
more easier, right? And then we can coordinate it. Thank you very much for the session. We super appreciate the time you've shared and the insights you've made available. So I'm just going to take this one first. Someone said, can ChatGPT annotate other natural languages apart from English?
So I would say that might be a limitation, but I've actually not tried it. I just finished writing a paper and I was comparing ChatGPT with other LLMs, Palm 2 and MPT Instruct. And I know ChatGPT work perfectly, but for other languages, I've not actually tried it out. I was just telling myself that I think I need to try it with my native language, Yoruba, and see how it looks like. Is it going to get it perfectly? But I feel we have all these diphthongs where the same word would mean different things. And for me, I feel like it might gabble a lot from that. So I would expect a lot of hallucination going on here.
Exactly, exactly. Especially if it's not trained with a lot of that localized content. Yeah,
Exactly. Yes.
right. Thank you very much. So on that question, we have a first. Someone asked, Lower FM said, talking about recapture, can we say aside its security feature in identifying human from robots, can it also be a form of data annotation? Recapture
Yeah.
that is majorly
Yeah.
used.
So I would say that it probably can be used. It might just not, like it can be applied. So it can be applied, but I would say you should check it, because reCAPTCHA actually does a great one. It tells you some time to actually make a scribble, like it makes the scribble and tell you to like type in those letters as well, or look for images, and it tells you to do it. So yes, you can actually use it for labeling if you're getting the output on your own hand, because if they're not getting the output, they wouldn't have allowed you to probably go through, because sometimes it's the security on a particular website also. So they must be getting the result, which is also labeling. So what I would do is, if I work somewhere that I use reCAPTCHA, I will take the result from reCAPTCHA and see if I can apply the same original data, unlabeled data, to GPT-4 and see how it is, because now reCAPTCHA will be my expert annotation and I can compare it side by side with GPT. And with that, your answer you get the answer to your question. Like, is it good enough, or you need LLMs?
All right, thank you very much for that answer. Thank you. I think we still have a few more minutes to take a few more questions, man. So someone asked, he said, how can we integrate ChatGPT API to our Python code, integrating ChatGPT API?
Okay, I had a slide like that, and I think I dropped it. So let me just re-download my slide, and then I will show you what it looks like, what it should look like. Yes. So it's actually much easier, but like the setup is different, but you can get it as well. So let me re-download my stuff, and then I will share that with you. I thought I wouldn't have time, so I removed some slides. Okay. All right, so let me share that, and I will share my screen back real quick. Zoom. Sorry, give me just a few minutes. Share screen. Sure. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yeah. All right. So this is a particular way you can set up your API. So you go into OpenAI and then you click, apply to get a API key. Once you have your API key, so this is a Python interface. You first pip install OpenAI, and then your API key is what you put in this place that says your OpenAI API key. And then you read it in, and then you can give your prompts. So your prompts, just like I told us earlier on, that from the text below, extract the numbers or label the numbers and the year. You can say, write a descriptive story about a young explorer journey. You can give it anything. And then you have to have something called response. And so if you've not seen this before, I'll say, take a screenshot, give it a shot. This is how simple it can get. So this one, the engine you are using is DaVinci Text DaVinci 3. This is like more of, this is under ChatGPT 3. To use GPT-4, it is, you just call engine equal GPT-4. So you can also have it this way. There is something after max token, you can decide to change it. So I told you earlier on that there are parameters you can actually tune. So after the max token, you can decide to end it this way or not end it this way, and add something called temperature. The lower your temperature is, the more deterministic your answers will be. So let's say your outputs now to this story, you want something that would not create so much randomness. You want it to really go into this and create the story about it. Then you are going to use 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 as your temperature. But if you want it to be very random, like it's something that if somebody else is doing it, will probably not overlap. You want to put your temperature at maybe 1 or 0.9, 0.7. But if you have a text, so like I put in the documents earlier in the interface, if I push that same one into this, because I want my result to be very deterministic, I don't want so much hallucination going on, I don't want you to give me any randomness, I'll probably put my temperature at 0.1 or 0.2 because I want it to get the answer it's looking for just specifically from the context I'm pushing in. So once you do that, you print your response and you have the text strip as well. There are other ways you use this as well to, I don't have that one here, like read it into your data file itself. There's also a way to do that as well. So, but this is the main setup. Once you have this setup, it's easy to go from there. And don't forget, you have to pick the engine type you need. So this is not all the engines. There are numerous engines you can use. I hope that answers the question.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Toyin, for that explanation. Yeah. So just one more question before you go. I think this question will really benefit everyone, although it could have been answered in Google. But say does ChatGPT support images? I know, as in just some clarification on that.
I heard it's have started, because to be sincere, when it doesn't even give you charts. So it would probably give you, so if we give it to it, it can render it for you, like you have to be the one to print it out. So it's not really, I would say I've not explored it with images and I've not seen a lot of papers on that yet, but I'm sure that with the GPT-4 and all they've been doing, pushing in a lot of versions into it, it might be probably ready for that, but from my end, I've not explored it.
All right. Of course, you already do know that Midjourney and DALL-E can be used for images, right? Yeah. So for those on the call, right, you might want to try that for images. So once again, we super appreciate your time for this session. And I believe everyone on the call does also. So guys, can we just please express our appreciation to Toyin with the fire emojis and the clap emojis. It has been an amazing time of learning and very insightful that I believe everyone on the call can make use of this knowledge.